Hello, Schmoville. All right, so we are still in phase 2, but this was the first show of 2012. It was January 2012. We had all come back from the break. Mark, myself, and Catherine were ready. What was great about this round of phase 2 was that Catherine let us shoot from her husband's studio, Candor Studios. So we recorded a bunch of shows there, and we had some really fun guests for this round as well. And the first was character actor Kurt Fuller, who you definitely will recognize, a very Supernatural fan. He was in the movie Midnight in Paris at the time. We were talking to him about that, and it got into a really fun conversation just about all the stuff. He was in Ghostbusters as well, into Ghostbusters 2. We talked about that. We talked about his career in general and some of the stuff that he loved to do, and we talked about some of the stuff he didn't like to do. He and I had a fun back and forth, and we're kind of ripping on each other a little bit, and I forgot what he necessarily said to me, but I had to respond by bringing up the fact that he was in No Holds Barred with Hulk Hogan, and that is a fun conversation as well. Kurt was a great guest and a guy that could talk, and it was really fun to see his perspective on the business from his career, and he's just had a very successful career. He's been doing it for a very long time, so I thought it was a very interesting interview. So you should definitely check it out. Let us know what you think. Comment in the comment section below, and remember that this Thursday, when I'm uploading this on Monday, this Thursday, April 3rd, from 7 to 9 p.m., the podcast Phase 5 is back. It is live, so make sure you check that out. We're going to be doing a bunch of giveaways. It's going to be a lot of fun. So check it out, Schmoville, and enjoy this interview here with Kurt Fuller.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Schmoes Know podcast, and happy 2012, everybody. Holy crap, the Mayans are going to kill us all. Okay, so I'm here. Mark Ellis joins me as always.
Yeah, it's good to everybody's back in this. The band's back together.
The band is back together, and we had the lovely, talented Miss Catherine Reitman. How are you?
Real good. Real good.
She always gets the introduction like that, and you're just like, oh, and Mark's here too.
Well, they see you every week.
It's the Schmoes Know Review. I need a little bit of oomph.
Yeah, of course. Well, you're the co-host now. Everyone knows you're a part of it. Now, look, we are very excited here. As you guys know, upcoming soon is the YouReviewers Awards. There are many great movies nominated. One of the great movies this season is a movie by a little director. You might have heard of him, called Woody Allen.
Who?
Some guy. And he directed this movie called Midnight in Paris, and we are honored to have one of the actors from that movie.
One of the stars.
One of the stars.
As far as I'm concerned, top billing.
Well, one of the stars. Why would you say one of the actors? You say one of the stars.
You're right.
Agreed.
See, and this is I apologize. And one of the stars, one of the major blockbuster stars of the film, Kurt Fuller.
Woo!
Hey, thank you very much.
All right.
Very nice to have you on the podcast.
Hey, it's I'm excited, and if the band is getting back together, I'd be the drummer who you have to keep replacing, I guess.
That's right.
We keep missing. We need a new Fuller every week.
Yeah, right.
True.
Exactly.
That'd be very hard to fill. But one of the things we're going to talk about with Kurt here, we're going to definitely talk about Midnight in Paris. I'm very curious about the experience of it all and kind of the expectations going into it and yada yada yada. But I also there's so many great movies that Kurt has been in. He's also worked with our lovely Catherine Reitman.
Yes, we have.
We shall talk about that. And there's a lot of roles that I know that we want to talk to him about. So stay tuned for a great podcast. All right, let's get into Midnight in Paris.
Well, get into it? All right, let's do it.
Your career really began with Midnight in Paris.
Well,
let's
the first one.
there.
That's how it feels, yeah.
We're starting present, we're going back.
Yes.
Okay. By the way, I want to say, first of all, Catherine, you look more beautiful than ever.
Oh.
And I'm not saying that because so much time has passed or anything, but you just look absolutely gorgeous.
Well, and I think we have to dive right back because when Kurt and I originally met,
yes,
I looked like a little bit like a goblin that had sort of met my father and taken some of my father's facial qualities and adapted to it in his goblin way. That is what I look like as a young girl.
It's amazing, but
So
you've grown. It's the years, however few, have been wonderful to you.
Oh, thank you very much.
I look better too, don't I?
I mean, never
I was
more
heavier.
handsome.
Mark, let's go get
Never more
coffee.
handsome.
Yeah, no. I'm glad these two lovers are on opposite
And you're playing
sides of the
footsie with me
table.
nonstop.
We're leaving.
All right, I'm sorry. I got off topic because I'm a man.
We like that.
I like a good man.
Thank you.
You fit in right. You're a good drummer. Now, I wanted to ask, the Midnight in Paris. Mark and I actually, when it first came out, we didn't review it, and time passed, and everybody's talking about how great the movie was, and I saw it on a screener recently, and I was blown away by it. It was just a really great movie. It's got that very romantic type of feel to it. And did you know, like, going into it, obviously it's Woody Allen, but did you know, like, what were your expectations going into the movie?
You must have gotten that script and gone, how is this going to work?
Okay, first of all, no, I did not get a script.
Oh.
What?
Okay. Woody Allen,
You're
man.
wrong. You guys are wrong about almost everything.
Sounds like us.
Okay.
Starting from calling you
apparently, you don't get a script with Woody Allen.
Okay.
All right? You only get your lines and the lines that are directly spoken to you.
What?
Wow.
I believe only Owen Wilson, because he's in the whole movie, got the whole script. The only person besides Woody Allen who had the whole script.
Not
on
even
the set.
Rachel McAdams?
Not even Rachel McAdams. And first of all, I didn't even read for this. I mean, I don't know how Woody Allen even knows who Kurt Fuller is.
By the way, that's a silly statement. We all know how he knows who Kurt Fuller is.
Whatever, yeah.
Ghostbusters.
There we go. Thank you.
Kurt Fuller from the Schmoes Know podcast? I got to get that guy in my movie.
Exactly. I mean, maybe he saw Van Wilder 3. I don't know. A lot of people
Probably.
So anyway, I get a call. Woody Allen, he's interested. Does he have the right Kurt Fuller? Is there another Kurt Fuller? Are you sure it's this Kurt Fuller? I go, all that. Then I'm told that somebody is going to show up at my house with an envelope.
What?
I'm not kidding.
It's a soldier from Halo.
I'm supposed to read the envelope, and then when I finish reading the contents of the envelope, I give it back to the person.
He stays there the whole time while you read it.
He stood outside my front door.
I was going to say, do you stand outside your bathroom? That's where I do all my script reading.
Exactly.
Too much information,
So
Mark.
somebody shows up. There's a manila envelope, and I open it up, and there's a note from Woody, which I have not yet framed, but I'm going to. Which
You
is,
have to.
Thought you might have fun with this. If not, maybe something else down the road. Woody.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's awesome.
Okay, I'm thinking, I'm sure it's a form letter, but he signed it. And, there's not going to be anything down the road. Let's face it.
Right.
This is it.
This is your moment.
So before I even read it, I go, oh, I love it.
Yeah.
But what it is it's my part, which was about 27 pages of this 110-page script. But everything is blacked out. Every stage direction is blacked out. It looks like a Guantanamo Bay confession, redacted for national security reasons.
Right.
And when I talk and when somebody talks to me, it's there. Everything else,
Watergate.
Every other, when it goes to a different scene, gone. So I just read that little bit. I can tell nothing about the part or the movie. And, of course, I write back and I go, oh, Woody, I love it. It's fantastic. Are you kidding me?
Read a better character.
And during the movie, no one knew anything. No one knew. I didn't know.
You didn't know that it went back in time.
I did not know it went back in
Spoiler
time.
alert.
Well, wait, yeah. Well, did Rachel McAdams know? I mean, do you know if she knew? Because
Rachel McAdams knew because she has a scene where he tells her.
right. So she didn't leak it, but she didn't leak it to you.
They
at all.
were not talking.
Wow.
No one. Well, we were all afraid of him. I mean,
Right.
you said a little guy named Woody Allen. He is a little guy. He's this little guy. But,
power.
you just don't want to upset him. You just don't want to upset him.
Yeah, don't
That's all
upset
I
the
wanna say.
diminutive genius.
He bleeds
He's done-
lightning.
Can I
Yeah.
ask you a question about his directing?
Yes.
How did you do it? No, if he
He's non-directing.
is non-directing,
Yeah.
well, every single one of his protagonists end up talking exactly like
Yes.
him, male or female.
Yes.
When he was giving you direction, did you find yourself being like, oh, say it like you would say it?
Not to me, because I wasn't his what's the word I'm looking
conduit,
for?
maybe? Yeah.
Well, yeah, but
I made an
what
effort.
it's
I took
called.
a shot.
I wasn't the Woody in this movie. Owen Wilson was. So
Right.
I was doing a scene. There's a scene earlier when they first meet Michael Sheen. We're having dinner, and Woody wanted Owen to do something. And he came up and he started talking in his ear, and he was talking like this, and his hand started going like this. And Owen was going, okay, so you want me to go? And all of a sudden, Owen, without knowing it,
Became Woody.
became the cadence. It was doing the cadences. And I thought, that's how it happens.
Right.
Because it's like gets into your he somehow gets into the
Injects it.
subconscious.
Yeah.
He's
And all
an
of a
earwig.
sudden- He is. He is an earwig. And I have to say, completely delightful, genteel, never, you only hear from him when something's wrong. I mean, you could go a whole day without seeing him.
Wow.
I mean, really, you could.
So what, Video Village is in like another
Video
building?
Like a
Village
wizard behind the curtain.
was in a room, and he'd come in, he'd set it up,
Yeah.
and that was it. He was gone.
Wow.
He was gone. And only if something was wrong, he'd come out and go, "What are you doing? You're terrible." But
Who do you
Right.
say that to?
be better. Be better. He
Sounds
said that
like Woody
to me
Allen.
several times.
That way.
But but that was it. So I could see what he did was he was whispering, and his hands were going, and his voice was going, and then all of a sudden, Owen Wilson was like Charlie McCarthy. He was like
Right.
then he was. But one reason I think it works is because Owen Wilson is antithetical in life to Woody Allen. So even when he takes on that Woody Allen, he's still. It's not a carbon copy, or it's not a weaker carbon copy. It's still Owen Wilson.
It's a sibling.
And yes, he was so far away really from him, I think it worked much better than when he casts people to be him who are already like him.
Right, you could see like
Right.
the kind of neurotic thing come out.
It's like too much.
Yeah.
Kills
Right.
the lily, as they say.
Well, that was the thing though too. Watching
Proxy was the word I was looking for.
There you have it.
Very good.
I was going to go with
Much
conduit.
better.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Nah, proxy
Much
is so much
better.
better than
Yes.
Conduit's
conduit.
revolting.
Yeah,
As opposed to
unbelievable.
condom.
Yes, very similar.
So then you film this. You just know that you're playing the father that doesn't really approve, and you got to send the detective. But when do you find out? Like when you go to the premiere? Is that when you find out kind of when it's all said and done? Or?
Yeah, and when I went to the premiere, because I hadn't seen the movie and I didn't know what happened, people who were asking me questions had already seen the movie.
Unbelievable.
And they were saying, well, what do you think about this? And I said, I have no
You're like,
idea
what?
what you're talking about.
Right.
I haven't seen it. I didn't get to read the script, and that's interesting. I can't wait.
Thanks for giving me a spoiler.
Yeah.
Right.
And it was weird working because I didn't know what happened, and because I was given no information, I didn't know how I felt about Owen Wilson. I didn't know how I felt about their relationship, because I had not read any scenes of their relationship, because I wasn't in them.
Right.
It was like I just had to make it up as I went along, and it somehow worked out. And maybe that's why some of his movies are better than others, because sometimes they work out and sometimes they
Well,
don't.
it really
Yeah.
depends on the talent of the actor and the imagination.
Yeah.
I got to say, though, when you delivered the line of, I had to get a detective for the detective, not only did I hear a little bit of Woody Allen in there,
I know.
Kurt,
Yeah.
but it really works. I mean, and
Yeah.
I remember when I watched that moment, I'm like, he was directed like crazy for that moment.
No.
But it was pure just out of
Not
you.
at all. But I did say, when I looked at it, I said to my wife, I said, I could do that 1,000 times and never do it like that again.
It was
I could never-
brilliant.
I don't know. It was one of those stupid
Magical
things.
moments.
Yeah, one of those stupid things that's going to end up on my reel.
As it should.
Well, that's ironic too that the award that I got nominated for on the YouReviewers Award is best screenplay, and the actors who
Never got to see the
got to
screenplay.
see the
Yeah.
screenplay. So
How funny is that?
I'd love to talk about it, but I haven't seen it.
right, that's hysterical. But I mean, it literally like there's a lot of Woody Allen movies that I've seen that some like I loved and some I thought missed, but this one, I mean, really stuck with you because it was so cool to see, like, to have Hemingway back and to have all these characters that you wondered about, and then you see them and the actors portraying them. And Adrian Brody have always been kind of like
Medium.
he was so good.
I know.
I thought as
And
Dolly.
really on
Yeah.
for about 20 seconds.
Yeah, right.
And
Can you imagine how much script he saw?
none of it.
None.
Right.
Yeah, one little speech.
Right.
The interesting thing, I'll tell you two interesting things. One is, in that scene you were talking about, the bathrobe scene where we're all doing that thing.
You fill it out nicely.
He
by the
came
way.
out. I fill it out less now, but it was not going well. And that's one of the times he came out and he goes, "What are you doing? You're standing around like you're in a sitcom. What are you doing?"
Interesting.
And I was about to actually go do a sitcom, and I was thinking, "Oh, is that good or bad?"
Right.
Because that's what I want to do. And so we said, "Well, we're trying to get this line in, that line in," and he said, "Don't worry about the lines. Say whatever you want." And all of us went, "But you're Woody Allen. We're not going to." He goes, "Don't worry. You just say it. Make it real. I don't care if you do my lines. Just make it real, for God's sakes."
Interesting.
Kind of thing.
That's great because you always hear the writers are so attached to the
Well,
material that they don't want you doing any improv.
That's the great
Yeah.
thing about being the director. Is he just wants the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's
Well,
like Noel Coward. He's Woody Allen. He's Shakespeare. I don't want to say Shakespeare, but he's a great. You don't
course.
change. It's like a playwright. You don't want to change his lines.
Right.
Unless he tells you directly.
Yeah.
Right,
He's the New
right.
York Jewish version of Shakespeare.
Yes, exactly.
Closest
Shakespeare
thing.
bird.
The closest thing to Shakespeare-stein that we have.
That's right.
I gotta say though, and we've dealt with actors. That's
Yeah.
how we're
Who
dealing with you
hasn't?
right now.
Stars.
We've dealt with
Stars.
We've dealt with
Stars.
stars.
Stars of movies,
Who've
yeah.
been in both Quentin Tarantino now and Woody Allen. And I have a problem, and I know this is sacrilege, but we're hearing about these directors who it sounds like they're like not empowering their actors. I mean, the fact that you don't get to see the script, the fact that you don't even interact with them much on set, was that really frustrating for you as an actor?
It was frustrating for me as somebody who grew up worshiping Woody Allen.
Right. You're ready for the full Woody Allen
Yeah,
experience.
I mean, I wanted, and I did get the full Woody Allen experience,
Sure
and that's
did.
what, and I had heard, and I don't think this is anything he would object to. His sister said that he'd made 5 movies with Judy Davis,
Right.
and she said she's probably said 20 words to him in those 5 movies.
Wow.
No kidding.
And that's the way he works.
This is his process.
That's
yeah.
his process, and it's on purpose. It's not because he's not a nice guy. It's not
Right.
because he's shy.
Right.
It's because he casts the way he casts, and he wants you to figure it out, and he casts people he thinks can figure it out, and if they can't, he'll come in and say something.
Right.
So the less you hear from him, the better you're doing.
Right. Well, that, I
Right.
mean,
And that's really the way it is. And I know some actors, and who doesn't like to be nurtured and nourished, and we
You like to be reinforced.
we
and
work in a
encouraged.
business where most people are professional reinforcers to actors. He's not, and you just sort of have to trust that the less you hear, the better you're doing.
But as like actors, I mean, we're constantly feeling insecure.
Yeah.
And so when you get on set and that moment where he stepped out and said, "Guys, just make it real. Find the real moments." It's like, well, we weren't equipped to do that. If he's in there in the beginning.
but that's a question though too, as far as that scene in particular. Like, how long already were you into the process when that one?
Oh well, since I never shot more than 5 hours in any day.
Wow.
Wow.
And they
Oh, that's
never
great.
worked more than I think 10 hours in any
That's
day.
fantastic.
You guys in Paris the whole
We were in
time?
Paris the whole time.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I know.
So awesome.
I think we'd done 3 takes,
Okay.
and we finished on the 4th take.
No.
Yes.
Wow.
And we just made it messy and overlapped and
Yeah.
did it.
And it was real all of a
Yeah,
sudden.
and the line, I don't know if you remember, when he leaves, I go, "Say hi to Trotsky for me."
Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Say hi to Trotsky. That was Owen Wilson's suggestion to me. And I said to Woody, I said, "Can I say hi to Trotsky?" And he went, "Oh, yeah." Like,
And
then
you have
it
no
made the
idea
cut.
why you're referencing
no.
Trotsky. You have no idea.
I had no idea. That's why Owen Wilson suggested
Yeah.
it to me. I had no idea
That's
what was
great.
going on.
So when he was doing the nonchalant Ed, was he saying like, you think to not let you know, or the fact that he just didn't know if it was
I
going to
think
work?
he was thinking, well, go ahead. You can say whatever you want, but it's
Right.
not going to be in the movie.
Oh,
But-
okay.
So where did you actually think he was going?
I had no idea.
You
I
had
thought he
no
was,
idea.
I
But
thought he
that's
had
great,
a girlfriend. I thought he had something.
An affair.
Yeah.
See, then that's why, like, and I know we were opposite sides with the Tarantino thing too, because I liked the way that he dealt with it. I actually like this too because it's like, again, knowing from
Well, it
saying
depends
what-
on the actor.
Yes, and saying what
Because
Kurt
some
said,
would
the
be a
way
nervous wreck.
yes, the way that he casts and the way that he does something, I think he puts it together the right way, and if it works, it works. And I think for this process, it comes off in Kurt's performance. Like you
Yes.
see, like where the hell is this guy going? I got to get to the detective,
Right.
and I'm sure that helped with your performance as well.
And you just don't get to let yourself be insecure.
Right.
Right.
You just don't
You
get
can't
to do
get in
it.
your own way.
You just don't. You don't get to let yourself do that. Where sometimes I'm like, was I okay? Did I do okay? Did I do?
Right.
Forget it.
Right.
There's
Right.
none
This
of that. It's like you just show up and then you leave.
Just like our podcast. You're doing great so far. too. I don't know if you.
But I mean, as I said when I finished, I said you don't get a good from him. You get a good night from him.
Right.
That's what you get.
Perfect.
Good night. He's gone. He was gone sometimes before I finished the take.
Stop.
He was. I've one take where I'm going to see the private detective. I look at the building and I walk in. By the time I walked out of the building, he was gone.
Wow.
That's
He was
Hey, it's Paris.
But he knew it. He
There's
knew
a
it.
lot of stuff
He
to
was
do in
done.
Paris.
He knew
He
it.
was done.
He knew it. So when you saw when you saw the time travel stuff and you saw what it was really about, like what was your first reaction?
For me, I don't think every movie Woody Allen has made has been,
Agreed.
brilliant, great.
Agreed.
Like anybody else, it's hit and miss. And I was, and I've been in a few movies that have done extremely well. And people like I was in Wayne's World.
Yeah.
We're gonna get to that.
But people will always
Schwinn.
come up to me and say, well, did you know it was going to be? No,
Right.
it was a mess. And this was not a mess. Incredibly well organized, incredibly professional. But you didn't have the feeling that this was going to be one of his good movies, as opposed to one of his okay movies,
Right.
or one of his movies that works on a certain level but not on a commercial level. It just this you never know, especially because I didn't know what was going on.
Right.
So, but it just, I'm sure it felt like every other Woody Allen movie.
I'm wondering if they've all been that way. Like, do you think Annie Hall, the actors only got like one page?
Yes, I've
Yes?
heard this forever, for years.
Wow.
And I've heard from actors when they go in an audition, he doesn't look at them. That he
Ugh,
looks.
see, I
he
don't
never,
like that.
I mean, well, you just. That's what I'm saying. With him, you don't get to be neurotic or insecure. And
how it is.
He takes all of it.
You don't get any of the stuff you usually need just to, this is a business of no more than yes. And you walk in and somebody's not looking at you, they're already saying no, you think. So, you just
How
sort of...
incredibly supportive.
You just sort of have to,
Right.
I was just in the experience trying not to get fired and make it all the way through, and I would consider it a success.
So you talked about your Woody Allen audition. Kristian, if I may.
Yeah, please.
You auditioned for my dad. And
yes.
I have heard such amazing
And
stories.
this Ghostbusters 2?
This is Ghostbusters. I'm diving right into Ghostbusters 2
Let's
if
do it.
we're good with it.
Yeah,
Schmo.
let's do Ghostbusters 2 first then. Okay, all right.
So,
There was
just
a woman
because-
you worked with on Ghostbusters too.
I didn't work with her, but I
you
worked near her.
You saw the girl with Puppy.
Yes,
I'm
I
so
did.
sorry you had to see that.
No. And your brother. They were both in this
That's
with
right.
Harold.
Jason
Yeah.
was in it
Jason
too.
was in it also?
Jason was actually in the first one, but I think cut out.
Was he directing scenes on the side?
What an interesting question, Kristian. No. He's a director now. That's so weird that you asked
really
that.
Interesting. Young adult all over again. All right, sorry, go ahead.
My
They don't all
question,
work.
though, is because I've heard horror stories and not. I've heard that, like, my dad, especially in the later part of his career, has become, like, really improv friendly, the opposite of what you just described with Woody Allen. Like, he always says the first one's a wash, let's do it again and have some fun with it. What was it like in the peak of my father's career auditioning for him?
Well, first of all, it was one of my first jobs in show business. I was selling real estate when I auditioned and doing theater.
You're kidding.
No, I didn't get my first acting job till I was 35. I'm now 58. So,
wow.
And
You're
I came
fantastic.
here, except for the hair. Yeah, I think I do.
It works for you.
It's a bit better. But I came here, and for 9 years, I sold real estate and did theater. And Harold Ramis came to see me in a play, which is how I got the audition for Ghostbusters 2.
Okay.
And I went in, I was petrified. And I was originally playing a part. It was either written out or Gilbert Gottfried ended up. I don't remember. No, he didn't, because it wasn't that. But about a guy who plays a boss and his desk lights on fire because of ghosts or whatever.
Right.
I remember it. And I'll tell you another thing about your father in a minute. And I just did it once, and he said, "Great, goodbye." I didn't hear anything, and then all of a sudden they needed, a sort of William Atherton proxy
There we go.
Okay. It's a condom.
Opposed to somebody channeling William
Ghostbusters
Atherton.
2, and they called me and asked me to do it. And I just flew to New York.
So it's just a straight to offer.
Audition for one thing, straight to
Well,
very
for a whole other
tiny
film.
offer. For a whole other thing. And I was petrified. I didn't know how to act. I'd been doing stage, and the first scene... It was where I go. Bill Murray says something to me, and I go, "You stay away from the mayor. He's running for office."
Yes.
Yeah.
And your father, I was so big, I was so overacting, and I saw him getting exasperated, and I didn't know how to get smaller. And he finally said to me, "Kurt, do less than you ever thought it was possible to do." I said, "Okay." And I did that, and we finished. And if you look at it, it's still too big. Now, if you look at the movie,
I think it's
I think it's perfect.
And I'll tell you, and not blowing smoke up your ass, is that when I first saw that movie, your character for some reason was one of the ones that stood out. And so for every time I'd see you on screen or on TV, from that you're like, that's the guy.
That's
from Ghostbusters 2.
Yeah, once we told a lot of people that you were coming on, everyone was Ghostbusters 2.
That's
Ghostbusters
funny.
2.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
that's
you're a pivotal part of that film.
Absolutely.
well, I'm one of the stars.
You're one of the stars.
There you go.
There we
I know. I'm
go.
not one of
it's
the
a big
pivotal part
galaxy.
or actor. I'm one of the pivotal
Enough.
stars.
You're a star. You're the star of the movie.
But by the end, I will have to say the scene. I'm going way back. Like it's yesterday for me. I don't know if people will remember it, but when they're all in the mayor's office and the mayor comes in and they've come out of the slime.
Yes.
Your dad said to me, he said, "Just improv for about 30 seconds before they come in." And I was like, "What? What?"
Right. Because
And
this
he
is
let
also
me-
in a time where improv
Yes.
was never
No.
ever used.
And he let me do it, and none of it ended up in the movie. But I think one line did. But he let me do it, and it was like, oh my god! I mean, I was
Sorry, and that helped you get more comfortable as once you got into the scene, and it just
yes,
yeah.
and I felt like he had become more comfortable with me that he was letting me do
cool.
it.
That's
because
really
I think at the beginning he was thinking, we got to get rid of this guy.
No, I'm sure. He's not
Oh, you
thinking
ask
that.
him. He won't remember. He'll go, Kurt Fuller, Kurt Fuller.
No
Kurt
way.
Fuller. But anyway.
Christian got that feeling from him when he met him at the Twilight screening.
I don't want to talk about it.
My dad's not a fan of Kristian at all.
No,
You're lying.
he wasn't.
He's not a fan.
Not a fan.
You know, it's funny though. You said you just started acting at that point. Now,
Professionally.
Well, that's the thing that I want to ask you, because a lot of people remember you from Ghostbusters 2 or Wayne's World. For me, I was a huge, huge wrestling fan. I was like,
Uh-oh. What are we getting into here?
The thing was,
I got to go.
and No Holds Barred was a movie that came out, and
see.
that's how.
With Hulk Hogan?
He
Yeah.
was the villain. and
Roddy Piper was in that movie?
No, but he was the villain, and I always remember because I was a huge fan.
Bro.
That was a big deal, but back then when that
That
movie
was
came
a
out,
big deal.
It was when that
Yeah.
movie came out in 1989. It was a huge
Yeah.
movie, and I remember all the people went and saw it because it was Hogan's first movie.
And you're the villain
He's
in
the
it?
main.
I'm the
villain.
Donald Trump in that movie.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And your body language just screams that you can't wait to talk more and more about this
I
meaty
know.
role
I
that
had,
you
but I
got.
had to listen.
Okay.
I worked for the WWE. Also.
Oh.
Yeah, I know. So it was like I.
You
had,
worked for the
I was a writer
WWE?
for them,
Not
yeah.
in the ring.
You were
Not
a
in the ring.
writer?
I was a
I
writer
know
for
that
the
deal.
WWE.
I know. I'll tell you. We'll talk about that when
Okay.
there's
Less-
people who are actually less people who are uninterested.
Yes,
Wait,
exactly.
Wait, it's not real?
No, it's not. It's like
There's a-
Santa Claus.
You're responsible for the terrible dialogue?
Some of it.
Amazing.
But anyway, but
When
that
the wrestlers
but
get the
that was-
script, it's not blacked out.
the
They
reason-
know everything.
But Kurt, the reason I asked that question is because, and maybe it's wrong here, but was that after Ghostbusters 2? Because it has it listed. I know that IMDb before
When was Ghostbusters 2?
Ghostbusters 2.
That was
It says
89.
89, and so is No Holds Barred. They're both
I
89.
believe No Holds Barred was before.
Okay.
I believe it was before. It was one of my first jobs. It was like a quote unquote starring role,
Right.
Sort of in an.
They're all
Edsel.
starring roles
It's like
if you're
the
in it.
driver of the Edsel,
Yeah.
But for those of you who don't know, Edsel was a car that didn't do well.
No Holds Barred did well, didn't it?
No, Edsel was a car. that
Edsel
didn't
was a
do-
car. that
I know.
didn't do
I
well.
thought he was comparing.
No,
it
I
to-
thought it was
okay.
not a good movie.
Well,
But did it do well commercially?
It did. Yes, it did do
yeah,
well.
it did well. I'm telling
It
you.
did do
I
well.
saw that thing. I saw that thing like 4 times in the theater when I was younger.
It was
Of
a
course it
live
was.
action cartoon. I mean, you just
Absolutely.
literally. The reason that one of the reasons I was overacting in Ghostbusters 2 was because I had just done.
You just played a human cartoon.
Well, I just been acting with a 300-pound steroid.
This makes a lot of
jock
sense.
wearing red spandex and a little spandex hat.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And my protege in the movie, not my proxy,
Not your proxy.
Mark,
was
keep
this
up.
guy who's Zeus.
Yeah, Zeus, and he became a wrestler afterwards.
Yeah, who became a wrestler afterwards.
Oh, it was his.
Yes,
That was the
and
transition.
his screen name, and he's done a zillion things.
yeah.
Tom Tiny Lister Jr., who's been a
my
bad guy in
God.
a million things.
Yep.
And I didn't think it was possible to overact. I mean,
Right.
You couldn't be big enough to work with Hulk Hogan.
Right.
So it was a lot of screaming, a lot of eyes bugging. It was a lot of really
Right.
and it was
So wrong, it's right.
And this,
So
is, this is
wrong,
the
it's
first time
right.
he's talked about it in 25
It
years.
is. I mean, for a long time, that movie kept me from,
From working, I'm
yeah.
sure it got in the
I
way.
believe it hadn't come out when the Ghostbusters 2 thing happened.
Interesting.
So I,
Wow.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's so funny. You were honestly, you were great. I
Well,
love that. I'm telling you, you're great. in
just
that
to
movie.
defend
Love
you,
it.
my father, I was like 6 years old coming out of school plays, and my dad would be like, less, Catherine.
I know.
Less with
I
the
know,
eyes.
I know.
But we got all right. So
God
again,
bless him.
Let's get far away from No Holds Barred.
Okay.
All right, and then Mark and I are often compared when we do our reviews to Wayne's World. We get it all the
Great
time.
Oh
movie.
yeah, by ourselves as much.
I was going to say, by you
but
guys?
it's more the dream.
Yeah.
By the time you got to Wayne's World,
Yeah.
had you found a career as an actor? Were you making a living?
Yes.
doing it.
That was Ghostbusters 2.
Okay.
Once I did Ghostbusters 2, all of a sudden I was, it helps you. It doesn't turn you into anything, but it helps you work and get jobs. And if you get you into
Recognizable.
rooms, and if you are equal to somebody else, and that person was not in a movie that
Yeah.
made a lot of money, you get the job, even though you weren't better.
God bless it.
Yeah. God
And
bless
you were
it.
fantastic in Wayne's World. I can quote just about every one of your
Russell?
Fantastic.
Yeah.
What's your
Platonic love can exist
Oh
between
my
two
god!
girls.
I had no idea what I was saying at the time. Yeah, I thought that I saw that line. I go, what? The hell are they talking about?
Oh, that's great.
Isn't it amazing that some of your most famous lines, you have no idea
no
where
idea.
they came
yeah.
from?
Well, that just shows you.
Well, was that
Exactly.
was it just a kind of a jumbled shoot, or was it? Did you? I mean, obviously, you didn't know what you had.
No, there was Penelope Spheris directed it, and Penelope Spheris is a very talented woman, but she's a nut.
Really?
Is she?
She's a wild punk rock kind of, And Mike Myers is a very kind of determined, ambitious, strong guy.
That's a nice way of saying it, yeah.
And Dana Carvey is a delightful, the most wonderful human being on earth.
Right.
That really is Kristian's Mike Myers, and I'm Dana Carvey.
And I'm not saying, Mike Myers is. I mean, he was always great to me. I'm just saying he and Penelope together, it was his vision and then her vision, and they both wanted their vision.
Right.
And then Lorne Michaels was there all the time.
What was that like?
Well, Lorne Michaels was delightful. I mean, he really...
That's the first time I've ever heard
I know
that.
The words Lorne Michaels and delightful in the same
Yeah.
sentence. I know that. And, I mean, I know all about it. But really, he was like a ringmaster. I mean, you had... And maybe he likes it that way. I think his creative process is to get people... is to create conflict, and out of that conflict can sometimes come great
Magic.
stuff.
Right.
I hate to go back to wrestling. That's like the Vince McMahon of whatever the shoot is.
Exactly.
Well, and that's SNL for you.
Right.
They all compete
Exactly.
and the best
exactly.
survive.
And that's what happened with this.
Yeah, and that was the height. I mean, SNL was pretty huge at that point. I mean, were
Yeah.
you pretty familiar with the Wayne's World skit and stuff? No, but I mean, I mean, of course, in consciousness. But I mean, did you watch it? Were you a fan of it? You know?
No,
what
I didn't. Not.
Oh, that's awesome.
Look
Well
what he did.
played.
Look what he
Jesus
did.
Christ. Of course I knew what it was.
I don't know what it was.
Hey,
but I
Kristian,
mean,
do you know what his
I was
victory is?
familiar.
Were you a fan of it?
Yes, I was a
okay,
fan
there we
of
go.
it.
There we go. See?
Were you familiar with television
Yeah,
when you
I
started
mean,
acting?
You don't mess with
God.
stars. I mean, God forbid. You
No.
call them actors, they smack you around.
Well,
you bring up
yes.
Tiny Lister.
So,
you get
Kurt, this
smacked
big
around.
Tom Tiny
thing
Lister
that's
Jr.
aimed at you, it's called a camera.
Yeah,
Did
I
you
know.
know how it worked?
They
So
were much
foreign.
bigger then.
Unbelievable.
I remember when color came in. Oh, the makeup was so weird. And talkies, I thought I was done.
I feel like I'm Michael J. Fox at the table of Back to the Future. And they're like, what do you mean this is a repeat?
But yeah, I did. And another one, again, another intimidating thing, because Ghostbusters 2, your dad, who directed some of the greatest movies when I was in college ever, I went to Berkeley, and it was like he and Woody Allen and all that, they were all the dudes that
And
you
you've
wanted
worked
to
with
be.
all of them.
I know, it's amazing,
Yeah,
isn't
it's
it?
pretty cool.
And then all the Saturday Night Live people in Ghostbusters 2.
Right.
And then I worked with all the Saturday Night Live people
In Wayne's World.
In Wayne's World. And then ended up working with a bunch of Saturday Night Live people in Scary Movie, actually.
That's
But,
right.
I mean, Saturday Night Live has been very, very good to me, although I've never been on the show. But again, these people, to me, I'm a starstruck person. When I work with stars, I am starstruck. I am nervous around them. I feel like they're better than me. They have the secret that I don't have. It's, I have all those feelings.
You seem pretty at ease today.
Well,
And you, I don't know what that means, Mark.
I pretty much feel like I'm king of the hill. No, but
You have no proxy here.
Mark was in What was the name of that movie you were in?
I was in a number of really good horror movies.
Oh, okay.
Oh, good.
All right.
We'll continue.
We'll keep under wraps.
But anyway, back to No Holds Barred.
How have we not talked about that before? I get so much hell.
Have you ever seen the trailer for it?
For what?
Little fucker?
Little fucker?
It's about a demon that we discover while exterminating that the only way to pacify it from killing people is to get it really high.
Stop it.
Luckily,
That's a great
I play the lead stoner, and I get high all the time. So, not in real life. I've never gotten high in real life.
You have got to
They had
post
to
the
teach me
trailer
how to
for that
smoke a
on this
joint on
podcast.
set.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Well, we've
They had to
talked
teach
about
me
it
how to
before.
inhale because I had no idea.
That's hysterical.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you're definitely the king of the hill.
Amazing.
Yeah, those
But
are roundabout way.
I do want to see Little Fucker now. Though.
I would love to have you and Kristian can review it together.
Yeah, because he won't let me watch it.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So, all right. So we got to Wayne's World. From
Wayne's World to Little Fucker and back to-
Doing my greatest hits of my
Greatest hits.
IMDb page.
This is what we do. We shoot the
Welcome
shit.
to the
we talk
Schmoes No
about-
Podcast.
That's right. I mean, it literally is the most easy back and
Well,
forth.
can I ask you a
but-
question about your formative years at Berkeley?
Yes, sir.
Was it crazy? You were probably after the big.
I went
hippie
to
movement.
Berkeley not from 1971 to 1976.
Oh,
Okay.
wow.
So the Vietnam War was still going on.
Mm-hmm.
I got a draft number. I got all that stuff.
Was it a good
the Vietnam?
draft number,
Yes,
or-
it was.
Yeah, you got
But
lucky.
It was a very nervous
Yeah.
time, and unlike you, I did smoke pot.
Yeah.
Okay. I was at Berkeley, my friend.
I'd get high with you, Kurt.
No, I don't do any of that anymore.
Okay.
I mean,
well, this is the
but
first time for both of us.
Unless Woody Allen asked you to.
if he
That's
asked me to, whatever.
Right. For the role, honey. I had to do it.
But my formative years at Berkeley, I was there during just after the exciting time, but there was still People's Park. There were. Yeah. It was crazy.
The energy was still there.
Slept on the train tracks to stop the trains from moving arms through Berkeley and all that.
God.
Oh, we did all that stuff.
I
was a hippie. I had a beard and long hair, and
I would love to see a picture.
Me
I
too.
wish I had one.
Amazing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, another thing though too that I wanted to ask you, Kurt, because we had before last week we really got into the Oscar movies and stuff that's coming out, and like it's the November and December season when you get all the screeners and all. Has there been a couple movies that you've seen so far that you really loved? Any performances that really kind of stuck out to you this season, or maybe you're a little too busy, haven't seen much?
Well, I have a 10-year-old and a 13-year-old, so I don't see much.
A lot of Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah. I did see Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy.
Oh. What'd you think of that? I know a lot of people have mixed reactions on it.
My wife, who is brighter than I am,
Doesn't take much.
Absolutely doesn't take much. Thanks for asking me to be here. She loved it. I was confused.
Thank you.
I had no idea what was going on. I was behind it the whole time, and by the time I caught up, by trying to catch up, I had missed what had just happened, so I was behind again. I was watching it through a thick fog.
Yeah, that's exactly how I saw that movie in the most pristine screening conditions imaginable. With a really nice little thing on Wilshire where there's not a lot of people there, and I'm watching it and I'm thinking, have I gotten this much dumber since college to where I can't follow a spy
without
movie?
pot? Yeah. Well, no, but here's the thing:
a lot of beer.
And watching your single review on that, I got the screener and I was like, you know what? I'm subtitling this bitch. And I subtitled it and I got the whole thing. Yeah,
that's interesting.
Interesting.
Because I was able to. Because they show it before they say it, so I'm like, okay,
right.
And so I'm kind of catching up.
Now, and let me just address Gary Oldman, who I think is a brilliant actor.
It's the best.
But he did so little in that movie. He was so small.
He disserviced himself.
I feel like, when you do almost nothing, you're asking the viewer to invest a lot in you, and that's a very good thing, and it's usually fantastic. But when the viewer is confused and doesn't know what's going on,
throw me a bone.
It's hard to invest.
When even Ivan Reitman would say, "Hey Gary, you need to
bring it up a little bit." I know.
Do you blame Oldman on that, or do you blame the director?
I actually don't blame anybody, probably, because it's. I would recommend the movie to anybody, but I don't blame Oldman. Certainly, and I don't blame the director. It's just, movies are really hard, and sometimes when you write something and are with something for a long time, you understand all the nuances of it, and you forget that people watching it for the first time,
that's
maybe not.
That's the most common thing I've heard. People either love that thing or were confused beyond belief and had to give up on it. But and you mentioned you've seen a lot. Do you see a lot of kids movies?
Yes, I do.
Right. So, and mentioning Gary Oldman, I thought one of his great performances this year was in Kung Fu Panda 2.
Yes,
I thought he was.
There you go.
I thought he was great in that.
Jean-Claude Van Damme was great as well.
That's true.
Yeah, and there'll be no nominations coming out of Kung Fu Panda 2.
Oh, I don't know. Best animation.
There's not a lot of competition this year.
I think best animation. It'll
Pixar took the year off.
I think Rango will probably take an animated category, but
gross.
I think Tintin will.
Tintin. Yeah. But Kung Fu Panda 2 was fine for what I enjoyed it.
I think I liked it more than you guys.
I liked Kung Fu Panda 2 a lot, actually.
I had to watch that one in subtitles just so I could get everything.
Well, you're really stupid.
Wow.
Really stupid.
Was there any movie
I got to start smoking pot
that you saw with your kids this year that you really kind of liked? Did you see Tintin?
My kid saw Tintin. I did not.
Oh, okay.
I haven't really seen a lot of movies. You're really going into an area that
you haven't.
That's going to be a
dead end.
Do you have
two boys or
two girls?
Two girls. So that's a whole other realm.
So yes, I probably have seen some other movies. I just can't. If you name a couple, maybe name a couple. Name one.
Okay, so name some of the ones that.
Name some of the ones that you've talked about.
Well, how about this? These are the ones that were nominated for Best Picture and the YouReviewers Awards. Okay. All right. So there's Drive. There's 50-50.
Oh, 50-50. Fantastic.
Yes. Knew I liked you, sir. Yeah, one of our favorites.
And Win-Win, did you see Win-Win?
Yes, Win-Win was great.
Isn't that fantastic
now, to
and
me,
totally underrated?
The most underrated movie of the year is Win-Win, and one of the most underrated performances is Nina Ariandrani.
Which one is she?
Who plays Paul Giamatti's secretary.
Oh, yeah, she
in the
was
movie.
great.
Who also plays Michael Sheen's wife or girlfriend, who knows, because no one read the script, in Midnight in Paris.
Wow, how about that?
And also played Billie Holiday in Born Yesterday, or played the. I mean, she is incredible in Win Win.
She's really talented.
She steals. I mean, Win Win to me is the most underrated movie of the year.
Well, then you'll be happy to hear the YouReviewers most underrated film category. The nominees were Warrior, Adjustment Bureau.
I didn't see that because I read for it and didn't get it, so I wouldn't go see it.
So screw that movie.
That's right.
I hope it dies.
Win-win.
So you'll still read for parts that you don't get. It seems like if Woody Allen is like, hey, Kurt, I need you for this, you still have to audition?
Generally, you get offered the things you don't want to do,
Right.
and you have to read and not get the things that you want to do.
That you love.
Wow. Okay. I just see because
Now,
you're
hold
just
on.
such an established guy in my
No one
mind
is.
that it seems like you could kind of pick and choose.
You'd be amazed when you walk into audition who's in that room.
Really?
Right.
About everybody.
Really?
Yep.
Known and unknown.
Yep. It
never gets easier.
It never gets easy.
Catherine.
About Best Picture, I'm sorry I missed it. Was Beginners nominated?
Well, I will read that in a second. I just wanted to let Kurt know that
Go on.
Win-Win was nominated for Most
Great.
Underrated Film, as
Great.
well as Hannah and Attack the Block. Now, as far as...
Hannah. Saw Hannah.
See, that's another...
That's how I felt,
And
man.
I loved it. See, it seems...
I
it's-
loved it.
See,
Yeah, you did.
Yeah,
I loved
and
it.
the soundtrack was great.
I
Yeah, such
also
a cool
think
tone.
it might be one of those movies, though, because there are like a handful of films where it completely depends on the theater you watched it in. And I watched it on a Friday night, Century City, packed house, great volume. I mean, great sound, great everything. And everybody walked out like jazzed about it.
See, I felt it. If you know what it felt like to me, it felt like a very cool, obviously like an independent film, and that got a lot more attention than most independent films get. But it wasn't. You know what I mean? So
Right.
Like that,
It was such a mainstream film, but it
Yeah.
had such a cool
Right.
quality
Yeah,
to it.
and I
And
just-
She was great.
Schwarzy Schwarovsky
Yeah,
is...
She was great. I love the
exactly.
beginning,
Sure
and then I
shot.
just got a little.
Yeah, a lot of
bored.
people bailed on it, but
I
okay.
also have a
No, I
soft
didn't bail
spot
on
for
it.
hardcore female protagonists.
Now, may I say something? May I interject something? I mean, this is not my thing. I mean, I'm
This
just
is your
here- I'm just
podcast for
visiting,
the rest
but-
of the hour.
Bring it.
All right, you're talking about good movies and movies of the year. Movie attendance is down.
Yep.
DVD stuff is everything in the film business is depressed and getting more depressed. Okay.
Yes.
The other night, me and a couple of guys, we're just out.
Dude's hanging.
Yeah.
This is getting awfully gay, but
Well,
continue.
yeah,
Catherine.
it gets gayer. We went to see Mission Impossible: Ghost Protocol.
Very-
All right.
Three of us
Super
did that
straight.
together as
The
well.
highest testosterone movie
Yeah.
I've ever seen
my
in my
God.
life. And I thought, I know why the movie business is going down, even though that movie's doing well. And that is because just about every movie, and then they showed all the trailers before that, it was like the same movie over and over and over. It was CGI, but the people with money in this, the people left in the United States with money are people my age and people in their 40s and 50s, and a lot of their kids have already left home and they don't have a lot of money. And so the movies, all those CGI, high death count movies appeal now to people who don't have enough money to go to the movies all the time.
Interesting.
And the people who have money, like me, and most of them, they aren't giving money to their kids anymore, so that's not how their kids are getting money. There's no movies for them. So that 4 or 5% business, unless they make a few movies for people who actually have created wealth, they're going to continue to lose.
Well, and the movies that they make for that audience, like I don't know, my family's in Virginia. I don't know that they could have found a theater to go see Tinker Tailor
Right.
Soldier Spy.
Right.
You know?
Well, another reason I think that theater prices theater attendance is down and everything too. And we've talked about this before. Cell phones in the theater, people talking loudly, all this
the worst.
kicking of the chairs.
Yep.
And when I have my nice television at home and a surround sound system, and I don't have to worry about anybody, I can just relax on my couch.
You can control your wife.
More or less. And the thing is, too, Mark and I, if we didn't get into all these screenings, I would try to find a way to get the DVDs.
Right. Well, not to get too inside. I mean, I don't know who your audience is for the
Break the
podcast,
door
but
open.
Break it open.
But if you guys are any indication, it's
My mom is listening,
not a
Kurt.
sophisticated audience.
A lot of love. A lot of love.
a lot of
Hey, I wasn't-
conduits out there.
Hey, I wasn't in No Holds Barred. Go ahead. Sorry.
Okay. Well, what can one say? You just put aside. You just throw me off a cliff every time you bring up that movie. But all right, let's say it's a given that all that's going to happen in the future is there's going to be less people going to the movies and more people renting and watching at home. They got to find a way to make money off that. Or movies the business is going to get so fragmented, and it's going to be all these cheap on-the-fly YouTube things and all.
Hey, watch your mouth. Watch your mouth.
But excuse me, you guys, if that's what you're doing, you really want somebody to get it and give you money to do it better. And in other words, you don't want to continue to make nothing off your great funny, which I've seen, by the way. It's very funny. I saw you in a movie theater.
Oh, Breaking It Down?
Yeah.
That's my show.
Very good. Very, very good.
Thank you.
But you want money to do that.
Oh, sure.
Exactly. So so it doesn't turn into a bunch of people, everybody making nothing.
Right.
They've got to find a way to make it a viable business for people to watch things at home, and whoever and the stuff you get to watch in the comfort of your home, you have to pay for.
Right.
Because it's not like bands, it's not like music where you get it for free and they make money touring.
Right.
They're not going to come to your living room and perform a movie.
Right.
Yeah.
So they've got to find a way for everybody to make money.
And I think one of the beautiful things actually about that is that, not to have a love fest for the YouTube community, which we try to do whenever we can, but it is one of the great things is that whatever is being targeted out there, like you said, the films are being made. I mean, they're all pretty much remakes or comic book movies. And I had an amazing conversation actually with my dad about this over the holidays, which I would love for him to come on the podcast and do his own piece.
Look, Catherine, we have a lot of guests we got booked.
Who knows? Well, he probably wouldn't want to work with Kristian.
I think Tiny Lister's coming in.
Please.
But I was saying the great thing about the YouTube community is that we're allowed to sort of speak in a way that where there's, it's not like we're all getting paid millions of dollars to do this. We do it because we get to say exactly what we want, which is so great about the YouReviewer Awards. It's just the people speaking about what they actually want to watch,
right.
what they're willing to go spend money in the theater in. I don't know. It makes me so excited.
And that's where these nominations come from. It's the movies, and again, not all of these movies did great. Like Warrior, which is a fantastic movie, and nobody saw it.
Right.
And everyone who does see it now, loves it. And did you happen to see Warrior?
No,
Win-Win.
I wanted to.
It's fantastic. And Win-Win, exactly.
Yeah.
Win-Win's another one because
And I
it was
wanted
so
to bring
small.
up Beginners. Beginners is one of my favorite films of the
A lot
year.
of good cancer movies this year.
Beginners
If you were a
It's
cancer
so
movie or a horse
topical,
movie,
very topical.
But I agree with you, Kurt. 50-50 was one of the best of the year.
50-50 was
I'm
phenomenal.
actually, speaking of that, I'm just signed to do something called My Prostate, which is a cancer movie.
That's fantastic.
yeah.
Who's attached
Really?
to it?
Huh? I'm attached to my prostate.
There
what are
you
you
go.
saying?
Bada bing.
There you
You're
go.
too quick. Can I go? I know you want to you want to get to something, but I want to go back to what you were saying about YouTube and everything. That is, to me, that's like the breeding ground for talent, and
disaster.
Yeah.
But it's also where it's anything that promotes expression, self-expression, collaborative expression.
No studio involvement.
Fantastic. But if it continues to be a second or third job for everybody, it's not going to continue. It's not going to grow. It's just going to sort of stay the same.
Well, and Kristian and I talk about that all the time.
Right.
It's like, how long can your passion take you?
Exactly.
Right.
So what I was saying is certainly not putting down YouTube or any. I do a lot of internet stuff anytime I get the chance, but there's got to be a way for it to be a viable lifestyle for the people who are really good at it.
What is the ceiling on this?
In other words,
Absolutely.
it can be a hobby for 98% of the people, but it's got to be a living for 2%. And right now, it's not a living for anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, no,
well, how do actors do it? I mean, actors, yourself excluded, of course, most of us can't get work.
Right.
And there's probably 2% who actually can make a living off of doing it.
I agree.
So it's it's
Occupy
you can't help
Hollywood.
What your passion is.
Yeah.
You can't help what moves you and what turns you on.
And the only way you do make it in any art is when there's no alternative in your life.
That's right.
Right.
Well, it's
That's right.
the truth too. And again, bringing up the YouTube community, the way this kind of worked out for us is that I was a professional comedian for a very long time, and I worked in a studio.
I would never have known.
I know,
I
really
appreciate it.
surprising.
Very, very nice.
I like this dichotomy.
You like that I'm
Excuse
getting-
me, bring up No Holds Barred again, and then maybe I'll come up with another.
You know what?
another singer.
I was telling you how much I enjoyed that.
All right,
movie.
you're right. That's right. That was supposed to be directed at you.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's right.
Yeah,
You're right.
Mark's the worst. Mark's the worst.
My God, I was like a kid. I wanted to
I'm sorry.
sneak in
I
and
take
get in
that
trouble.
back and I pass it to your partner.
Oh, unbelievable.
Continue,
Doppelganger.
Kristian.
All right, so Terry Bollea aside, now it's an inside joke. Now, as far as the YouTube movie reviewing community, the way it kind of all started, I was, and I worked in the studio system and all that. And Mark and I kind of figured, like, well, what are we going to do to further my love for movies, his somewhat funny jokes, and we put it together and we started reviewing stuff and in an honest way and talking about it, and it caught on, and it's caught on through a bunch of different people, and that's how we met Catherine, and that's how we met guys like Jeremy Johns, and guys like that who just kind of, this community is growing, and it is, and the talent kind of all comes together, and I think the reason people are responding to it is because you come to a place of honesty, and come to a place that you're not afraid of what the studio is going to say, because look, I love certain movies that she might hate, and there's certain things that she might not, but we'll talk about it, and it's the same way you would talk to your friends about it, and I think that's why it will flourish.
Well, I agree, and the rawer it is,
yes,
the rawer it is, and the less unfettered by commercial concerns it is. That's when something becomes really popular. It doesn't just it only appeals to a few people because it didn't. Things that are really true and honest and real can get very, very popular.
Look at Howard Stern.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
was going to say punk rock. Yeah, it's just very simple. It's very raw.
Right.
But I think that's the reason. Like, because this is the second year that we're doing these awards, and Deadline Hollywood and Movie Line, people who own that company, they caught on to what we were doing, and they're starting their own channel on YouTube, and they
bastards.
Yeah, and they want us to do.
It should be free, but not for them.
No. But listen, what they said was, they said, listen, you guys, we want you to do what you're doing on our new channel, and you have total creative control, and they're going to let us do it, and they're going to put the word out there. And I think the reason why is because they see, this company in particular sees the next wave and understands that people want to get their reviews and their opinions from people like them. Right. And I think that's why
and it's affecting people way outside of its comfort zone. Yeah. I mean, my dad and my brother, who differ greatly in their style and comedic taste, but definitely, if it wasn't for my show, no offense to anybody, they probably wouldn't be watching YouTube videos. Of course. And every time they watch it, it took a serious several months for them to watch it and get used to and adjust to this webby quality of the acting.
I was like that too before we had a show. It took me an adjustment period.
It takes a full
everybody has that adjustment period. It's like, wait, I want to watch TV. I don't want to watch a computer. But as soon as you get over that, as soon as you break that wall, it's like,
now
there's a
my
lot of
dad
good
watches
stuff.
it, and he always says, he goes, the only parts I don't like of your show, Catherine, are when I feel like you're not, or when you're not dropping complete honesty. Like when I feel the writing more than he's like, it should always be edgy. It should always be raw.
Yeah. Right, because it's if it's on YouTube,
yes,
or if it's on something that is not this commercial conduit, the only reason it should be on there is because it is completely real, true, raw, and should never even feel scripted or molded. That's for the studios to do.
I think where the fine line is that a lot of people that I watch on YouTube, I get completely, well, not a lot, but there's a good chunk of people that you watch and you get bored because there's no writing. Right. I mean, it just feels like they're sort of rambling.
Right.
And they're saying the same things over and over again. I end up writing it and then completely improvising.
Well, that's the trick, though. The trick is to make it not seem like that, but to do it that way.
And to continually deliver fresh information that you haven't said 8 times, right?
Which is why, even on YouTube, only 2% of the people are going to be successful enough, because that's just the way it goes.
Right. It's a new talent breeding ground for sure.
Right.
And there's a learning curve.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, it feels good to be on the other side of the ledger for a change. It feels good to be the 2%, not the 98%.
And that's the thing, though, is the fact that even when we started doing the movie reviews on YouTube in 2008, the market for that wasn't that saturated yet. For as far as reviewing went, as far as videos, it already was and for people to find you, it's tough. You really have to.
It was a dense jungle, and we turned it into a mini mall.
You're so sexy, Mark.
That's the difference of YouTube as far as being an actor. That's tough. Is that you can market yourself and you can figure a way to kind of promote as much as you can because it's you handling your own stuff.
Right.
But now it's really hard for new movie reviewers too because there's so many people out there.
Yeah.
And so when we have great guests on, it helps us obviously too.
But also. In everything in life, I hate to sound like I'm a cliche spouter, but you have to find a way through, and the only way is by being so good they can't ignore you.
Like you on the set of Ghostbusters 2.
Yes.
Yeah. You just kept going.
I kept going,
You ignored all facial expressions you saw of my dad.
I did. You have to.
And you shined.
And yes, and I mean, I've been fired. Everything has happened to me, and you can't let any of that stuff define you. Only you define you. And and I believe it was Steve Martin when they asked him the secret to success. He said, you have to be so good they can't ignore you. And that's what you have to do, because everybody will, it's easy. I mean, there's just too much out there. Yeah. There's too much.
Well, speaking of being too good to ignore, one of our buddies is a very funny comic you worked with on the show Big Day. Steve Renazizi.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Stephen Tobolowsky.
Steve Renazizi told me to say that Stephen Tobolowsky says hi.
That bastard! That bastard! Oh, my God, you hit it. You did it so well. Well, no. Stephen Tobolowsky and I used to steal work from me.
Really?
It's not
he played Ned Ryerson, right? In Groundhog Day.
In Groundhog Day, the role that was originally written for me.
God.
You bastard! Did he tell you to say that too?
He told me to say that. Yeah.
God.
We actually because you.
God damn it! This is raw. Now we're getting raw.
Remember that honest shit we were talking about? Get a YouTube camera on him quick.
Oh man!
But we had a great conversation about you a few years ago when you guys were working on Big Day together, because you were always in my consciousness from being in movies, but as an actor and a comedian, hanging out with Steve, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm working with Kurt," and I'm like, "That you're working with that dude?"
Yeah.
So we had a great conversation about and I think you guys were playing golf the next day, and I was almost invited.
Oh, I'm sorry. No. Anyway,
heartbreak.
Has he come on here or?
Steve's done the podcast. Yeah,
he's a funny dude,
and his show The League is really funny. It's, I don't watch a lot of TV between all my YouTubing and movie screenings, but that's one of the ones I watch.
Yeah, we've had a couple of the guys on from The League, and I'm glad that they got picked up for a fourth season, which is great.
That's fantastic.
It's good for us because we get to go to the premiere every year, and they have delicious food.
They do.
Yeah,
I'm with you, Mark.
I bring
Anything
doggy
for
bags
food.
to the event.
But so I mean, there's.
I just got sad.
Would you like to come over to my apartment and have some ramen?
There's a reason this show is called Schmoes now.
Wow.
Kurt, that was my favorite line said on the podcast today. I just got sad.
See, Kurt, if you could tone it down a little bit next time, if we could do that read again.
I know.
It's amazing.
If you could go smaller with that.
But listen, this was an absolute pleasure to have you on.
Oh my God, you guys! I wish I was worthy of coming back, but if I ever am, please invite me.
Anytime you want to come back, we'd love to have you.
How about why don't I just stay then?
Yeah, please. We'll stay over the next 2 weeks.
Okay. I got it. I've been there. Okay.
Do you have anything big coming up that you want to talk about or plug real quick?
Well, I'll plug something. I'm almost they should be paying me more, but I do the show on USA called Psych. I play Woody the coroner on Psych, and it's extremely funny. It's really funny. It's
really
very
funny.
clever. If you like the 80s, it's all 80s references. They worship Judd Nelson on that show. And the second half of the season is coming up in February, and I would suggest you all watch it.
Yeah, check that
Absolutely.
out. That was another one. Like I said, when we told people you were coming on, it was Wayne's World 2, and then Psych was one of the...
It's funny as shit, if I can say that on this show.
Yeah, of course you can.
Please do.
We'll
swear your balls off.
Well, it is an absolute pleasure to have you on, to be insulted by you, and to...
and right back at you. Yeah. The whole smart stuff.
But listen, and Kurt has also said that he's going... the YouReviewers Awards comes out in mid-February, and you're going to see Kurt in a little segment on the YouReviewers Awards as well.
That's awesome.
Nice. So there we go, guys. Thanks again for tuning in. And remember, always rate this podcast, comment on it on iTunes, and thank you so much for myself and Mark Ellis and the lovely Catherine Reitman.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye.